Thank you, everybody. Dennis Meltzer, president of TSANet. I'm here with Paul Esch. He is our director of strategy and development. And as this is a strategy update, most of this is going to be Paul. But I'm going to chime in on a couple of things here when it comes to the membership. So we're going to do a little bit of a tag team with you. But I think it's important as an organization that you understand where we're going with it. As always, this has been very member-driven organization, so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to give us your feedback and direct this organization the way that we want it to go. So, Paul, if you go ahead and pull up that agenda, and I'll just turn it over to you real quick. So I'll hit on these things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Paul. So we want to talk about what we're doing with TSANet Connect. That's obviously the mechanism for collaboration between everybody and what we've been really focusing in on. And there's some other stuff behind that we want to talk about. I'm going to cover some of the things we talk about with the new membership model, and then Paul, we'll turn it back over to Paul, and he's going to walk you through some of the things that we're doing with the focus groups and some knowledge sharing, that kind of stuff. So Paul, I'm going to go on mute. I'll let you take it over, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So let me dig into the TSANet Connect 2.0. Just a refresher on the overall goals for the next couple of years with TSANet Connect 2.0. We've got these 7 kind of high-level goals here. The first couple you'll actually see some updates on. We have expanded the collaboration initial response options. I'll go through a bit of detail on that. We have our ISO certification. I'll talk a bit about that because we're actually expanding the certifications that we'll have against the system. Then item number 3, you'll see is really kind of a continuous improvement. We've made some progress. We now have Microsoft Azure on the system. So we have all 3 that are part of TSANet Connect now, but we want to continue to optimize that. As you can imagine, there's some different types of requirements in place for those, especially around data privacy and those types of things. In fact, I would say that's largely what's driving a lot of our ISO certification. We've got some changes that'll be coming with the new support model. Dennis will talk a little bit about the new membership model, but obviously we do feel there'll be a few changes as far as how TSANet Connect supports that. Then we had a goal to expand some use cases. Here's just a couple examples. So again, these are things outside of the common customer collaboration. So this could be models where a member provides first level support and escalates to tier 3 at another member, or maybe a less formal technical question collaboration. So those are some things we'll be taking a look at. And then the last 2 you'll see on the roadmap here are actually part of what we would call the next generation technology platform. So there is certainly a desire to have this post collaboration messaging option, so more of a true B2B interface between members. We do know that that's won't be for everyone. Obviously, it requires a bit more IT investment on the member side to connect to a system like that, but it's definitely something that we see more important as we go forward here in the future. And then that will also certainly drive improved system integrations. So that's from a high level what we're seeing with TSANet Connect 2.0. As far as how things look like with the 2022, and then you can see, kind of how things are probably playing out into 2023. The difference in the colors here showing what we're doing with the existing technology platform, and then you can see we've got kind of the orange showing migrating over to a new technology platform because the current technology stack will not support the ongoing messaging between members. That certainly is a different type of technology solution. But we still have a lot of things we're doing this year on the current platform. We've got the ISO certification. Again, I'll go in a bit more detail on the 27701 because that's new. We have the new initial response that actually will be going live today, and I'll be showing you some details around that. And then, as I indicated, we did take Microsoft Azure live here at the beginning of the year. So now we have all 3 that are on the system, and there'll be some ongoing work to really kind of optimize how we work with those 3. As we go into the second half, you're going to see some integration with the knowledge exchange. Again, I'll talk about that a little bit later when we share what we're doing with the focus groups, and knowledge exchange is kind of part of that. So that will be really making sure that that's available within the TSANet Connect platform. We have changes with the membership model. And then there's this piloting of a technical question. So again, this is kind of one of the new collaboration types that that were talked about during the strategy sessions. And then you can see, as far as the new technology platform, we're currently in the process of researching different options. We're working very closely with the technology committee, TSANet Connect 2.0 technology committee. In fact, there's 4 members in particular that we're spending a lot of time with, and that is Cisco, Microsoft, Red Hat, and Dell, partially because they do have existing solutions, more B2B solutions in place for some of this type of stuff with certain members. So we really want to kind of leverage their knowledge on that and make sure we move forward together. But we do see that that will be more than likely something that will start later in the year, and that will certainly then dominate 2023 as far as what we do with the platform. So spending a bit more time on the initial response options, we did expand. Currently, the only option that you have when you receive a collaboration request is to accept it. You have to provide the case number and assigned engineer. We have some members that their inbound process doesn't automatically create a case. It goes to, say, a customer service team that is triaging it and manually entering cases into the system. And we've had some exception cases where, for example, a required piece of information, for example, a serial number, was missing or invalid, and there was really no process to, instead of accepting the case, requesting additional information. So those cases would kind of stay open. We'd lose SLAs, and it was just kind of cumbersome as far as that use case. So we've expanded the response options now. You can see here when you click on respond to a vendor, you can either accept the collaboration request, or if some information is missing for you to create a case, and this is just information required to create a case, you can request the information. So for example, missing a serial number, or can't find the customer in your system, entitlement issues, those types of things that are preventing you from moving forward and assigning it to an engineer. And then there is a rejected option, and that's something that would only be available once you go through this information needed loop. But I would say there's probably some members that have already done some automation here. They're automatically creating cases, so this really doesn't apply. Probably a little bit more related to members that are sending their inbound requests to some type of customer service team to enter those into the system. And as I said, that'll be going live today. As far as ISO, this was a very big effort last year for ISO 27001. I know we gave some updates on that. That certainly was probably a better part of a 6 to 9 month effort. We did get certification in October 2021. So this year is a little bit lighter effort. It's called the surveillance audit, but still lots of activity going on with that. And then we're adding ISO 27701, which is focused on privacy information management. So it's highly aligned with GDPR. Any member that requires this or operates in the EU certainly is familiar with that. And we expect that to be completed by the end of July. Very similar to the ISO process. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of controls that need to be put in place. Internal audits, a couple external audits, so very comprehensive. But at the end, we'll have both of these certifications, and I think that'll certainly give members even more confidence to collaborate through the TSANet Connect platform. And I'll hand it over to you, Dennis, as far as the membership model activities.
Okay, thanks, Paul. So here's what we've done with this new membership model. I just spend a little bit of time talking about it. And first of all, I guess I'd like to put everybody at ease because, when you talk about, oh, we're going to change the membership model, sometimes that means can mean a major shift in the cost and all that kind of stuff. And we sat down with the board for a couple of days, first time we've had a face-to-face in a couple of years, and kind of went through this. And what we really want to do is update it. And to give you some context to all this, right, is that we don't do this very often, and we're still kind of working off of a model when the organization was set up to where there was a TSANet Europe separate organization, and then when we globalized and put all this together. So we're wanting to bring it together, and then as the organization has evolved, and you'll see here in a minute how the limited membership has grown and things like that. So what we want to do is the key points that we hit on was, look, we've got this collaboration platform. We need everybody to use it more frequently, right? The volume has been increasing, but we'd like to get it to increase even more. And then we've got this concept, of these limited members, which are typically invited into a one-to-one relationship with another person. And it's been great for the membership growth, but those people are not really using it. So we want to see what we can do to provide more value to actually get them to use the service and to potentially upgrade into a different level of TSANet. And then if we look at our members, premium members, and those are the ones that have been inviting these limited members to come into relationships. And we did simplify how they can bring on partners, but we want to look to what we can do even more to make it more easy for you to be able to set up a collaboration with a limited member. A lot of times we'll get a request that will come in and they'll say, hey, I need to collaborate with this company. And by the time we get through the process of, okay, well, this is how you would set up a relationship and the paperwork that's involved and all that, the collaboration already has occurred, or the time frame is gone. So we're going to look at doing that, and then we want to look at making a pricing model with a little bit more flexibility and update our just the overall benefits and the marketing of how you can talk about the value of TSANet and what it means to your customers, what it means to your organization. So that's kind of the overall of what we did. Good to get with the board for a couple of days and kind of brainstorm these ideas. Move on. So this give you an idea, and this is kind of one of the challenges that we have here, right? So if you look at the number of members, you can see how many limited members we have, right, in respect to the entire organization, right? It's a huge percentage of members, and it's growing even quicker. I think we're up to, as you can see there, a total of 885, and that's grown, geez, I mean, 50, 60 members a year, and we get some of these other partner programs, and it just explodes, right? So we want to do something that we can make more value to that. But then when you look at our revenue and where our member dues are coming in, you can see that it's the premium members that are pulling in most of the revenue here, and the open group members is where we get most of that revenue. So we want to try to balance this out a little bit more. Exactly how we're going to do that, we haven't totally fleshed it out, but we've got some ideas on how we want to do it. But this kind of give you an idea of, the number of members we got and the number of revenue we're bringing in, and we want to try to marry that up a little bit more to where it makes a little bit more sense from an organizational perspective. Okay. Gonna move on to the next one. So here's what we're doing from a time frame perspective, right? We had this workshop, like I said, back in February. We got an idea of the framework that we want to create, what it is that we want to do, providing more value to the membership. We don't want to make a bunch of changes to any revenue-based type of things until we actually get the value there in place. That was one thing that came out of the board meeting that we had with that. So we'll get all of this done. Looking in the May board meeting to get a lot more of the framework finalized. This is where we're going to go with it. And then we're looking at the second half to roll that out. So what will that mean to you? Will your membership level change? What are the benefits you're going to get? What can we provide more to you? We'll do all the marketing materials and things like that. And then we'll start transitioning members out of it. One thing that I want to be really careful about is the last time we did a major change of the membership model was we had to change the code of conduct, which meant every new member or every member had to re-sign that. And we don't want to do that because it really, that was a huge effort. So what we're doing is I think we've got some good workarounds that we can do to be able to provide you more value with different types or different elements within relationships without you having to go through a bunch of legal changes and things like that. So we're looking at rolling that out in the second half of this year. I mean, you can expect some changes to you'll know where you're at, but obviously we'll roll this into whenever your renewal comes up. That's when something like this would take effect. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dennis. So let me just kind of drill in a little bit with the activities happening with the regional focus group. So we had two different things that are part of that scope, and that is the focus groups themselves and the meetings. We are hoping before the end of the year that maybe some regions would go back to face-to-face meetings. Certainly now we're continuing online and really kind of letting the regions define when and how they'll get back to face-to-face meetings. One thing we also did discuss as part of the new membership model is really kind of opening up the regional focus groups, and we'll probably separate the online meetings from face-to-face meetings to where there's a lot more invitations going out for the online. Currently, it is more invitation only and more focused on premium members for face-to-face, but we do feel for the online session, certainly limited members could get value from that. Then we have the Engineer Knowledge Exchange. This was piloted in India and Europe last year, and this year the plan and goal is to expand that out globally. And I'll provide a little bit of update on what we've been doing on that side. And then this really kind of plays also into this technical questions pilot that we plan to do in the second half of the year as well. So as far as the status goes, we have continued to hold all of the regional focus group meetings online. They looks like the next scheduled meeting, which for some is more in the summer time frame or kind of early fall, those appear to be still online, but we have started to have some discussion with a couple regions on potentially maybe in late fall going back to face-to-face. As you can imagine, there's some dynamics there based on how the back to the office and things are kind of opening up, and that's certainly different in each region. But the goal and the desire is to get back to the face-to-face. As far as the Engineer Knowledge Exchange, we did have our first session in Japan in local language. That is the only region where we'll be doing local language sessions. That's definitely something that's quite helpful for the Japan teams. And then Europe will do the next global session, but then we'll start to bring in the other regions as well. So I think, between India, Europe, and North America, we'll continue to have English sessions, of course, at different times of the day, but these will all be recorded as well, where people can access those wherever they are. And I would say pretty strong feedback from the board during the membership framework was that we really should make these available to all members. So limited members certainly get a lot of value from these. And certainly if you have a knowledge exchange session that is hosted by Red Hat about some Red Hat technology, you certainly would want the Red Hat Connect limited members to join that and participate. So definitely this would be an initiative and value for all members. Okay, so then moving on to the TSANet Partners. This is kind of the last part of the strategy, and you probably saw in the picture, it kind of overlaps all the other streams. We really looked at this in two different areas. One is partners that may participate in TSANet Connect, obviously from a technology standpoint, whether that is companies that help us build connectors for the next generation system, or maybe a piece of technology that is integrated to those, but certainly, there'll be a piece of TSANet Connect that is owned and managed and coded by TSANet, but certainly integrating with different members' systems, et cetera, to build connectors or things like that in more of a future 2.0 technology model would require some technology partners to be part of that. So that I would say you're going to see more second half in 2023. What I'll provide an update on for this time though is the support process partners. So this is an area where we have made some relationships, and I would say over the past 2 or 3 years we have invited some of these subject matter experts from the industry to come in and talk during focus group meetings or specific events, and we wanted to really formalize that and see how we can, leverage those relationships to bring more value to the members. So we certainly want a little bit more formality and create a framework around that, and we're doing that in parallel with continuing to work with partners to deliver things to the membership. And we had a couple of these in the early part of the year. We're in the process of kind of gathering some feedback on, who attended and what was the feedback. But we've partnered with ASP and FT Works. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she does great sessions here, and a few things kind of focused on training, both with support engineers. So there were some workshops that were held. And then for support leaders, kind of a series of workshops where you could kind of pick and choose what was more relevant for your job or whatever initiatives that you're running. So again, I think these would be the types of things that we plan to do. Obviously, not just with ASP and FT Works, but we've got a couple other partners also that we plan to work with. So the idea here is to start to, see what is of interest to members, see what's of value, and there'll probably be at some point some feedback loop here where you as a membership can kind of share, what are you looking for as far as content and best practices and those types of things. And I would say primarily that tends to feed through the focus groups, but certainly that can come in directly as well. Okay, and that's it. Maybe we'll open it up for questions, Dennis.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, I'll kind of chime in. One thing I would tell you, just yesterday, I was on the Europe focus group call, and a very interesting discussion after they went through kind of a strategy update, very similar to what we just had here that Paul gave us, was to talk about how people are coming back into the office and some of the challenges around that. And they were throwing out a couple of statistics that they had done internally that people are a little reluctant to come back into the office. They like the idea of working remote. So some challenges there to get some people back together again, but some interesting discussion. And I think overall what we're trying to do here is provide as much value as we can to your membership. So you can see what we're doing with not only the technology side of it, but also the workshops and the focus groups and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have any questions from anybody, Paul. I think we're good for this one. We'll get the recording out to everybody that signed up for it, and I think we're good. We appreciate everybody coming in and appreciate you being a member.